clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and this is a slightly more serious hypnosis session in the sense that it was created for a client that had symptoms of depression. And I'd encourage you to make a big distinction between the identity of being depressed and feeling low mood or feeling sad or feeling hopeless. Because all emotions are temporary. Nobody's felt a single emotion forever, and therefore the world and life itself is a palette of lots of different colors. But this particular client was feeling in a low mood, and they were kind of feeling disconnected, and therefore it uses certain metaphors that are quite good to inspire feelings of hope and joy, while still addressing that it's okay to feel sad sometimes. It uses a weather metaphor. You know, unless you live in certain parts of the world where it's sunny all the time, I'm in England and it certainly isn't like that. You have good sunny days, blue skies, and then you have grey skies. And that's quite a good metaphor to kind of highlight mood sometimes. In fact, in cartoons and comic strips, someone depressed quite often has a dark rain cloud following them around wherever they go. So this is a cultural metaphor. But here's the thing, the weather is always temporary, moods are always temporary. And what if, rather than relying on external things to make you feel happy, there's something intrinsic? So this is based on this idea of an internal light within. So there's very powerful metaphors here. Now, this isn't a substitute for qualified medical advice. If you think you might be suicidal, if you think you might be clinically depressed, it's not right for you to make that diagnosis yourself. And certainly going online isn't going to be enough for that. I would encourage you to check out a doctor, your doctor, make an appointment and let them know specifically, and then even then ask for a second opinion or a more specialist to kind of look at your specific situation. And even if they do say that you are clinically depressed, I would encourage you to look at that as that is a temporary statement. I've worked with people that they were told over a decade ago, not even they're depressed, they were just given a prescription for antidepressants, and then they took on the identity, a permanent label of I'm depressed. And it made sense of their world for that moment, but then it became an identity that carried with them. So even if you are diagnosed with depression, consider it for the time being. You know, use any resources that you can, but really focus on things within your control as well. Eating well, sleeping well, good connections and friends, hobbies and things that make you feel stimulated and you're learning something. It's not just a situation of you're depressed and therefore you have antidepressants. And a lot of research has looked at this idea of depression being a chemical imbalance as faulty research. But most people know that if you're in low mood, you're going to have different neurotransmitters firing than if you feel amazing. You're going to have less serotonin and oxytocin. So if you think you might be depressed, get yourself checked out. There are lots of helplines for anyone feeling suicidal. This is not a substitute for this. But if you are in low mood, this session might help to lift your spirits and to find something within and to give it a framework which is empowering. So I would encourage you to find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and see if you can find some enjoyment in this session. Take a deep breath in and as you breathe in a wonderful feeling of calm, a relaxing sensation. And as you exhale, feel a sense of release. That any emotions you're holding on to that aren't that useful can be detached, released, and you can let go and feel it flow in your outward breath. And I want you to imagine that if hope had a colour, what colour would hope be? Some people would think of a bright yellow, a warm blue, a pastel orange. But whatever colour comes up for you, embrace it, acknowledge it. And as you breathe in, imagine breathing in that wonderful feeling, colour and sensation of hope. And just imagine, because it's a warm colour, it can melt away any thoughts, beliefs and stories of hopelessness. The hopelessness melt away and is replaced by a feeling of warm hope. And as you exhale, just imagine a dark, shadowy colour leaving your body in your outward breath. That's it. Consider this an emotional transfusion. Breathing in the resources that are useful and exhaling any emotions that aren't useful right now. Breathing in what you need, exhaling what you don't. That's it. And I want you to imagine there is something within you that is hopeful, smiling, energetic, and creative, but it's trapped in a block of ice. And as you breathe in, just imagine that positive version of you is seeing the ice slowly melt. Each breath of warm hope is melting away the prison of that ice. And slowly but surely, you're starting to free that version of you. Not immediately, but each breath thaws the ice a bit more. And you've seen icicles melting on a spring day. You've seen sunshine beaming down on snow. And you know what it looks like to see snow or ice melt. And just imagine that prison of ice trapping that version of you is slowly melting with every breath. And maybe you're 100 or 200 breaths away from freeing that creative, positive, energetic version of you. Each breath contributes to the melting of that ice. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine a forest on a sunny day. And just imagine what it would feel like to have the warmth of the sun on your skin, under blue skies, exploring and foraging around a forest, looking for mushrooms. You're developing an eye for where they may be, the color, the texture. And maybe there's a dog running around helping you. And just imagine floating into that version of you, feeling what you would feel like to feel the energy of walking around, breathing in fresh air, sunshine on your skin, surrounded by nature, and just connect with that ever increasing positive feeling. That's it. And just allow your breath to continue being deep, continuing to thaw that ice within. And I want you to know that wherever you are right now, whatever you're carrying, there is no need to put it down or pretend it isn't there. You can bring it with you into this space. This space is large enough to hold all of it. And sometimes the heaviest thing is the effort of appearing fine, of coping, of managing, of holding everything together for everyone else. But right here and right now, you don't have to do any of that. Just breathe. Not a special breath, just the breath that's already happening. The one that's been keeping you going, that quiet, faithful thing that has carried you through every difficult day you've ever had. And there have been some difficult ones. And you are still here, evidence of your resilience, inner strength, a part within you that still has hope. So notice the weight of your body, the places where you are held and supported. Feel the sensation of that material beneath you, clothes on your skin, but feel supported. And just for now, you don't have to carry yourself. You can just relax, and the world outside can simply wait. Wait because it will still be there. And you will meet it again. But not yet. Not quite yet. I'd like you to imagine that forest. The weather changes. I want you to imagine that rather than sunshine, you're seeing heavy clouds. One of those grey, flat days where the sky seems to press down, where the light feels thin and the world feels muted. And I want you to think about something about that sky. Is the sun gone on those days? The days of heavy cloud? Or does the sun still exist? It's just simply obscured. It's there, even if you can't see it. And you know the sun is there. It's not stopped burning, it's not moved. It's precisely where it always is. The cloud simply sits between you and it. And clouds, no matter how heavy, no matter how long they've been there, are always temporary. Clouds aren't permanent. Emotions and moods aren't permanent. And the part of you that feels joy, the part of you that feels creative, part of you that can get lost in your own imagination when walking in a forest or doing something creative. The part of you that smiles when people think about you and plan something special. The part that has plans and ideas and a particular way of seeing things that is uniquely yours. That part has not gone anywhere. It's just temporarily behind the clouds, exactly where it has always been, patient, waiting, intact. And as you breathe in that hope, you could imagine going deeper, not deeper into the heaviness, but deeper through it, down through the cloud layer, down toward the part of you the weather cannot touch. I'll count down from 10 to 1 and you will imagine going beyond the clouds. 10, 9, 8, going gently deeper. 7, 6, 5. Heaviness becoming lighter as you descend through it rather than sitting beneath it. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And now as you imagine the forest, it's back to sunshine. There is a quality of light, softer than sunshine but steady. The light that is simply yours and has always been yours. And we're going to spend some time here with this light. Everyone feels different emotions, different times. Everyone can feel low and sad sometimes. There's a particular kind of darkness. And one of the features of being in that mood is the way the brain starts to edit and change memory and possibility. It can make it difficult to remember feeling well and difficult to imagine feeling differently. It narrows the view to the immediate and the difficult and whispers that this is simply how things are. And because right now I know that your unconscious is listening, I will say directly that what you are experiencing is real. The sadness, emptiness, heaviness is real. Low energy is real. The feeling of not being good enough is real. And though it's not accurate, it's still real emotions. There is an important difference between those two things. Something can feel completely true and still be a symptom rather than a fact. There was perhaps a moment in your childhood thinking of Santa Claus or tooth fairies or something else magical, and the excitement and the joy was real, even if the belief behind it was false. And you've had times when you've had a fever and you felt cold even when it was warm. Or the way that grief makes the future feel impossible even when it's not. You are not broken, and you are not beyond help. You are not a burden. You are someone whose nervous system has been running on empty for long enough that it has begun to send distress signals. And those signals are asking for something. not announcing a permanent state. And what if what you feel right now is real, and also not the whole truth? What if both things are true at the same time? And if there's a particular thought, even if it's only fleetingly popped up, any idea that people you love might somehow be better off without you, I want you to sit with that thought just for a moment. Not to dismiss it, but to look at it carefully. Because when we look carefully, we find something unique, special, or unexpected inside it. Because that thought arises not in someone who doesn't care. It exists within someone who cares so deeply about the people they love that they've turned that care against themselves. Someone that has looked at pain and thought, maybe my pain is their burden. And that thought, however painful, is actually evidence of an enormous heart. Someone that cares, someone that loves. Because a person who didn't love their family couldn't have that thought. It requires love to generate it. And love, real love, cannot see clearly when it's turned inwards against itself. So your unconscious can hold this. The thought of others being better off is simply love that has become misdirected. Love that is trying to protect others. And what that love actually needs, it needs to be turned gently outward again, toward connection, toward the people you love the most, the people you'd love to have more time to be with. And these people don't just want you here, they need you here. Not a version of you without struggle, and not a fixed or perfect or endlessly capable version. You. Imperfect and still valuable. Filled with creativity and warmth. A generous spirit that is uniquely yours. You are not a burden to the people you love. You are someone they love. And the very essence of love needs you here. And allow your unconscious to search. The kind of search through a drawer for something you know is there. The search for keys you've put somewhere and can't quite find them. And I want you to search not for something tangible, but a memory. It doesn't need to be a large or dramatic one. Just a moment where you felt genuinely like yourself. When something creative was flowing. When there was energy present, when you felt warmth for the people around you and it moved freely rather than being blocked. Maybe you can recall a moment of doing something inspired with creativity. And in that moment, sometimes when you're immersed in something creative, time has a habit of disappearing in those moments. The way the body feels different when it's engaged in making or creating something beautiful. Or maybe you visit a memory of real connection, laughing with someone, feeling understood, being fully present with another person without the effort of managing how you appear. Maybe it's a hug. Maybe it's something else. Just let that memory or that feeling return to your body. Not as an instruction to feel differently, just as a reminder that this quality of experience is yours. It exists in you. It is part of your nervous system's genuine repertoire. And that sadness has made it harder to access, but not impossible. And when you relive that moment, even if it's just the idea of it, notice where in the body that memory lives. Sometimes intense memories come with a feeling, maybe a warmth in the chest, a lightness in the shoulders, a particular quality in the breath. Let it be there, however faint, because even a faint signal is a signal, and signals can be amplified and strengthened. Because the creative, loving, energetic part of you is not lost. It is resting, and it will return. It has always returned and always will. And what if there's something important to understand about how mood and action relate? When you feel low, the brain tells a convincing lie about this. The lie sounds like this: when I feel better, I'll do things. It presents itself as reasonable, as self-compassionate, as simply waiting for the right conditions. But the research and the real experiences of thousands of people who have come through this same darkness tells a different story. Paradoxically, the action comes first, and the mood follows the action, not the other way round. And it doesn't need to be large action. It doesn't need to be a goal that will take months happening in days. It doesn't require an immediate transformation or a fake smile. But the pressure, that pressure of becoming a different person, isn't pressure if it's broken down into small, manageable actions. Because even the smallest possible action still counts as something. Whatever creativity is for you, a paintbrush, sketching, ideas, writing, just doing that even for 5 minutes. Not because you feel like it, but because there is a part within you that loves it, and it's still there. I want you to imagine a flower that's been deprived of sunshine and water. Imagine it wilted. And if the flower waited to feel strong again before it had water or sunshine, it would just get weaker and weaker. But the moment that wilted flower gets sunshine and rainwater, within minutes it starts to strengthen, revitalize. And what if creativity or movement, connection, is like sunshine and rainwater for you? It feeds the part within you that likes to feel hope and joy, happiness and connection. And something wonderful happens in the nervous system when we do even tiny things like this. The small release of the chemicals that low mood starts to suppress. A tiny signal sent to the brain that says, I did a thing. And the brain reliably responds to that signal. Not dramatically, but still measurably. And measurable is where we begin. Your unconscious can make a note of this, not as a demand, but as an invitation. That when darkness or heaviness or lowness is present, the smallest creative act, the briefest moment of engagement with something or someone that is genuine, is not a distraction from this low mood. It's the treatment. You do not need to wait to feel better to begin. You begin, and then you feel, even if it's just a little bit. You feel better. Small is not nothing, and small is where it starts. And what if there's a belief, one that's been present for a long time, perhaps longer than this current feeling of low mood, a belief that says, I'm not good enough. And your unconscious can begin to examine this belief, not to fight it, but to ask some honest questions about where it came from and whether it was actually yours. Beliefs are not born with us. So much beliefs are just programming installed by our parents. A newborn does not wonder whether they are good enough. They simply are wholly and completely, without condition or caveat. The sense of being not enough is learned, absorbed from an environment that perhaps had its own pain, its own limitations, its own difficulty loving well. And when love is conditional in childhood, when that warmth is inconsistent, when a child learns that they must earn their place, sometimes that child's nervous system encodes a rule that somehow they are only acceptable when they perform well enough, when they please well enough, when they manage well enough. That worthiness is conditional on them being valuable. But just allow a different way of perceiving it. That your worth is not something can be added to by achievement or subtracted from by struggle. It is simply there, underneath the cloud, underneath any depressive feelings, underneath the belief that was handed to you by someone who was themselves limited. It is there. In the same way that joyful, loving part of you is there under the ice. The same way the sun is there on a grey day. Not earned, not at risk, simply there. You are enough. Now. Not when you achieve more, and not when you feel better, and not when you look different. Now, you are enough. And let's take a trip into the future. Not far, perhaps. An occasion, a celebration, a recognition. Maybe you visit a room, a place already being prepared for you. A milestone. A representation of the value that you have created over years and years. Maybe you can imagine an invitation and your name is on the invitation. Maybe you can imagine balloons or people's faces smiling. And just imagine arriving, not as the person who is struggling to find the light or still under the ice or behind the clouds, but as the person beyond it. The person, the version of you who made it through this difficult period, this season, and emerged carrying something hard-won and real. And see yourself like you're someone else. And notice how you're standing. And notice there's a quality in the posture that comes from having come through something. You don't need to be perfect, not finished, not fixed, but present. Notice what you're wearing. See the facial expressions in that version of you, maybe smiling, laughing, talking. And how you are is enough. No need to embellish or exaggerate. People pay a compliment, you say thanks. The confidence that comes from having not met some external standard, but from being someone who chose one day at a time, moment by moment, lots of small little wins. And there'll be lots of people in that room who are glad you're there, who don't see what you imagine they see. They see warmth, competency, loyalty, dedication. So let yourself feel, even just briefly, what it might feel like to be that person, standing in that room, having made it from here to there, one small win at a time. Every day you are here is a day you have chosen to be here. And that choice matters. You're allowed to receive help, and you're allowed to need support. And needing support is not weakness. It's how human beings are designed, collaborative. And you've carried difficult things before. Your past is full of evidence that you can endure, you can recover, you can wait for the clouds to pass and the ice to melt. And the creative part of you is still alive and thriving within you. And the more you reward that part within you, the more that part within you will grow. You are not a burden, you are a person. It's good to improve. It's good to get better. But that is not a requirement. You are worthy exactly as you are. Because feeling low is just like the weather. It's just a temporary state. And just as the weather changes, so with the emotions and feelings within you. You are good enough. You've always been good enough. You were good enough before, and you are good enough now. And perhaps it's already that 200th breath. And just imagine that smiling, energetic, creative version of you is now free from the prison of ice. And just imagine the clouds are long gone and there is sunshine in the forest again. And just imagine connecting with that part within you that has hope, that has energy, that has creativity, unleashing a desire to make tiny actions, small decisions that generate progress and tiny wins that move you forward, one tiny step at a time. Imagine leaving the forest and floating back to the present, but give permission to feel however you feel, and allow your unconscious to make tiny changes to enhance more of those resourceful feelings and less of those unresourceful feelings. Still breathing in that color of hope and starting to think of all the things you can do. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.